Oh, I'm here, Francisco. You hear him, right? Okay. Okay. You need a mic check? Sir, can you go do a mic check, please? Thank you. So we're on 2 audios, okay? Francisco. Thank you. Thank you. Are these workers? Or?
Yeah, these are our workers, volunteers, you know,
okay.
supporters, all the people that stand with Planned Parenthood.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Rudy. Sorry. Rudy. Do you want me here? Are you gonna pan? Hi. We're going to be live at 9:30, and I'll just be right here, but then I'll step out of your way too. So he's just going to get me for maybe a quick second. No, is that easier? We'll trade spots.
Yes, no, I'm just trying to stay out of the sun.
Yeah, me too. Is that better? Okay. Is the sun bad? I'll be live at 9:30, so if you don't mind just stepping back and then
100%.
Thank you.
Dave Chappelle was tackled on stage.
Who are you guys with?
We're Spectrum.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm Serena.
Hi, Sandra. Nice to meet you. Yeah. Yeah, we're both here.
Gotcha.
It's true, they have a bottle of
all the Supreme Court justices. Oh, that is so annoying. Can you talk about it?
Newsom's tweet just said that abortion is the defining issue of the 2022 election.
Yeah.
Fast.
For for midterms too. Okay. Oh, thank you. I teased it up and then now it's all going everywhere. Thank you.
Try my hardest. I never remember.
Do you anticipate them being very late?
No. Yeah, they should be walking out shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Like something happened. Yeah, or like or issue.
Everyone will be getting started in just a couple minutes. I can barely make my deadlines, so. I covered the White House, Congress,
Right. Okay.
Can you go back very often?
No, I'm not tired.
You can, Rudy, you hear me? Rudy, you hear, Rudy, Rodolfo, Rudy. So, if you want, you could stay on the live shot. I could talk over it, so, if that's better, easier. Okay, copy. See, I have dual audio, right? 2 mics. Okay, I have 2 mics though. Okay, so mine and then the podium. Do you want me to throw to the governor if he's talking? Your husband.
And so I speak German now. But,
Send that to me. Yeah. Okay. You guys are matching. How cute. Unplanned. 2.5. Okay, he's not out yet, so we'll go start here, then go this one. Thank you. We're gonna be live in like 2 minutes.
There's your camera. Right
You're here,
Oh,
and this
man,
is
I'll
gonna.
get out of your way.
Only if you want to be on it, but. Yeah, that's fine. Of course, everything happens like. Right, exactly. He just walked by that. Here he comes.
Like a minute.
Thank you. Or less.
Or less. The longest minute ever.
Hi there, Tony. Good morning. We are live here in South LA at the Planned Parenthood headquarters. You can see supporters, workers, advocates for Planned Parenthood waiting for the governor. He's expected to take to the microphones any second now, and this is an event that he feels strongly about, talking about how California will protect the women's right to choose here in California. He definitely wants to push for a constitutional amendment to protect that right, and says that he will not stand idly by as women are stripped of their rights. He's also releasing TV ads attacking the GOP over this issue, and there you see him right now walking up to the microphone. He will be introduced by Sue Dunlap, the president of Planned Parenthood of Los Angeles, and then he will make some brief remarks and then take questions from the press. His campaign saying this is the defining issue of the 2022 election, and clearly this is something that both sides are very passionate about, talking about women's right to choose, but clearly saying that he will protect the rights here in California. Now, he's talked about this yesterday, and obviously this has been a big issue since the leak of that draft Supreme Court opinion on Monday, and definitely turning the election around in terms of the issues here. Let's listen in to what they are saying right now.
Hundreds and thousands of patients every single day. We're doing that right now, no matter what. We will not be defeated by any decision. And we, here in Los Angeles and across the state, will not back down. Our governor is a champion, has always been a champion for reproductive health care and justice, and we are prepared for this moment. We will not be defeated. We're thankful for his leadership, and we're thankful that we know this legislature will continue to fight alongside our governor. Our health centers will not be defeated. We will continue to take care of every single patient in this county and in our state. Welcome, Governor Newsom.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to all of you. I really appreciate all of you. Senator, thank you very much. Sue, thank you for the privilege of being here and creating the opportunity for me to be here to say a few words. Look, I just want to share and add my voice, the voice of quite literally tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Americans, and express my outrage about the decision the Supreme Court appears to have made as it relates to rolling back our constitutional rights. The rights have been well established and affirmed over and over again for close to half a century. It's a remarkable moment. I remember receiving from my staff, Ann Patterson, my legal secretary, that political article, and I said, is this the Onion? Is this actually happening? Is this true? I honestly felt that way. In so many ways, it was predictable, but when you actually saw that decision, you started to flip through it, it's just a remarkable moment in American history. At a time when countries around the world are expanding liberties, expanding freedoms, expanding rights, here we are in the United States of America about to roll back rights. The entire history of the Constitution has been about the expansion of rights. The entire history of the United States has been about expanding rights, not restricting rights, not rolling back rights. And this Supreme Court is poised to roll back constitutionally protected rights. And don't think for a second, this is where they stop. And if you think it affects someone else over there, this is about you. I mean, if the right to privacy is not foundational, they're coming after you. They are. Fill in the blank. Who is you? It's us. It's all of us. Across a spectrum of issues. You think for a second same-sex marriage is safe in the United States of America? Give me a break. You heard an Indiana senator United States Senator, not retired, a current senator, a U.S. senator, started talking about Loving versus Virginia. I'm actually old enough to remember that Loving decision was determined in my lifetime. Blacks couldn't marry whites in the United States of America, and he actually suggested, because that's unenumerated in the Constitution, that should be on the docket for the U.S. Supreme Court. Just think about that for a second. And you don't have to think that far back. I'll never forget. You look at the lower court decision in the Loving case, I'll never forget the decision. The judge, when sentencing Richard Loving to prison, said, God, sir, God never wanted the races to mix, because God put different races on different continents, he said, for a reason. That was the judge's decision. How far removed are we from that kind of thinking today with this current Supreme Court? I'm serious. How far away, how far removed are we from that kind of thinking with this current majority on the U.S. Supreme Court? But it's not just the Supreme Court. Just think about what President Trump did during his just 4 years as president. 231 federal judges, 84% white, 76% male, young federal judges, 54 of them on the appellate court. This is not just about the 3 on the U.S. Supreme Court. Pay attention, America. They're coming after you next. That's not hyperbole. It is not hyperbole. Watch this space. If privacy is not constitutionally protected, this opens up panoply of issues. So this is a profound moment, and yes, we're not going to be defeated. Certainly not here in the state of California. In fact, we are going further. And while it's well established in statute since 2002 that we are a reproductive freedom state, we are going to enshrine that, codify that, as we should in the state constitution. And I want to just applaud the leadership in the Assembly and the Senate, Tony Atkins, Anthony Rendon, for not only supporting that effort, but embracing it in partnership with Planned Parenthood and its affiliates. And we'll be presenting that to the voters this November as an affirmative step to codify California's leadership. I want to remind folks, we are not just the richest state, 5th largest economy in the world, $3.36 trillion economy. We're the most populous state and the most diverse state in the world's most diverse democracy. And we punch above our weight. This is not a small, isolated state, California. This is a state where we estimate 8.6 million California residents are of reproductive age. 8.6 million. That's more than dozens of states combined. The consequences of what we do here is profound and pronounced. And nor are we naive what to expect, not just with the dozen or so states that have these trigger laws and the likelihood anywhere from 25, 26 or so states, the majority of states in America, may roll back these freedoms and protections and criminalize doctors, criminalize caregivers, criminalize women. But we recognize California's unique status to stand above that and stand tall and stand out. And our responsibility, we've always felt it, our responsibilities to others. Not just to the few, 40 million proud Californians, but to others. And so we'll have to do more, we'll have to do better. And we've been doing that. We've not sat back passively. We've been anticipating. Sadly, we've been anticipating this. In fact, we just sat down. I said, we had a meeting, I think it was 6 or 7 months ago. We laid this out, and not one, every single thing that's happened has happened. I guess we just didn't know it was Alito. We knew it was part of it. So we've been preparing. We've been doing more so we can do better. Protect the health, protect the safety of women and girls, particularly those of color, and let's just disabuse ourselves that all those men up there in fancy suits and all their wealth and status and privilege, that this is going to have a profound impact on their lives because their loved ones, their family members can get on Southwest or JetBlue and come with one of those blue states. But how about those folks that can't even afford a Greyhound bus ticket? How about all of those women and girls raped in states where they don't even make an exception for rape? Talk about extremists. Rape and incest. That's how extreme the Republican Party is in the United States of America. You want extremism. Rape and incest. They don't even make an exception. How many young women and girls, maybe someone you know or love, finds out 6 weeks and a day later, 15 weeks and a day later, that they're pregnant? They don't have the ability, the money to come to another state. It's not about strengthening the family. I'll end on this. I also find it just the height of perversity and absurdity that these folks, A, lay claim to freedom, but perhaps more insidiously suggest that they're pro-life. When every single one of these folks that are out there trumpeting and championing this decision have consistently opposed prenatal care support, consistently opposed child care, consistently oppose paid family leave, consistently oppose all things to actually strengthen the family and provide the support for someone to live their lives out loud, to support working moms. Consistently, the one group of people that over and over and over again oppose all of those supports, and they claim to be pro-life, they're pro-birth. That's all this is about. It's the pro-birth party. And then you are on your own, consistently opposing all of those supports. Hell, they don't even believe in climate science. Talk to me about being pro-life. Spare me. Your body, your choice. It's a hell of a moment to live in. But like you say, we will not be defeated. We will stand tall, we will stand firm, and we will affirm the currently constitutionally protected rights of women and girls, their reproductive rights and freedoms in California. And we will assert ourselves, as I said, as Californians by punching above our weight, working with other like-minded leaders and governors and legislatures all across this country. And we're not going to roll over. We will not back down, and we will continue to fill in the gaps and address the disparities that continue to persist even in a state like ours. Even in California, women and girls still have to travel long distances to access their reproductive rights. Even in California, though we're changing it, you still have women and girls that can't afford the copays for procedures and care. That will change in January, even in California. Can you imagine how so many others are suffering in all these other states? So this is a powerful moment. Personally, 4 young kids, I had to explain to my kids. I had some other friends of mine said I had a hard conversation, because the first conversation, very young kids, about what Roe is, and what privacy is, choice. Those are hard conversations with young kids. But they're conversations we're all having that we prayed we never would have to have, because we thought we were living in a country that was expanding freedoms and choice and providing sanctity, not only of those decisions to be advanced in privacy, but also protecting people's right to privacy as a foundational principle in our democracy and republic. So I'm grateful for all the incredible work of Planned Parenthood and all its 108 affiliates in the state of California. I'm really proud of our legislature, proud of our legislative leadership. We look forward to going in front of the voters, affirming this constitutional right in our state, in the Constitution, not just statute, because we now recognize the vulnerability of the moment we're living in, and continue to work with others all across this country and continue our efforts to call out the hypocrisy that we see across this nation.
Governor Michael Edwin, AP, a lot's been written about how this is going to be a difficult election year for Democrats. You just mentioned voters. How do you feel this
I think it's a right question. It's a hard one for me because this is so much more pronounced and profound than just sort of an electoral frame. Though elections do have consequences, and we saw that with Donald Trump.
Do you think it'll have any effect? Does it shift the ground?
Putting my political hat, I hope so. Guys, this has never happened in our lifetime. They're taking away rights that have been affirmed over and over again and well established. They are taking them away. Wake up, America. Wake up to who you're electing. I love that appalling silence. It's all about, it's this headline of this leak, the right to privacy against leaks, I guess, that matter more than the damn decision that is apparently pending. They have a hard time even defending this moment when they're wholly responsible for this moment. And so I hope people hold these elected officials into account or to account, and I hope they consider the positions of those they are supporting or opposing in this election. And I certainly hope it has an impact, but that's not what this should be about foundationally, because it's so much more profound than just a situational election.
Governor, from a policy perspective, what exactly do you want to see California do?
Well,
Will the taxpayers be funding people coming from other states to come here? What does a sanctuary state of California look like?
Well, we've been doing that. We've been doing a lot. Let me back up. I think, it's always moments like this, what are you going to do next? But I really think it's important to talk about what we've been doing pretty consistently. I mean, no other state in the union is doing more to protect women's reproductive health and rights. And that's why I wanted to reflect back on the work we were doing in anticipation of this, because it led to a series of initiatives and bills, led to a new task force that was created, went through a series of recommendations, including dealing with co-pays that we enshrined in our budget that will go into effect in January. It went to the expansion of support for providers, supplemental support, $500 million that we provided to support our caregivers. Went to part and parcel of our $1.7 billion workforce ask of the legislature, because we have issues of recruiting and retaining healthcare workforce. It's gone to a series of other recommendations that are going through a legislative process and a budget where just in 2 weeks I'll be putting out, for example, supports for a new portal, a new website to provide culturally competent access to people across the spectrum so that they know their rights and they know where those supports lie in the state. So we are initiating all of the above in ways that no other state has ever done. We also, and it's important to know, and I want to be sensitive about this, but when people come in for care, we take care of them, period. That goes to your question. Regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of their status across a spectrum. And that's been well established here in the States, a principle we hold dear. And I should just note the 108 affiliates of Planned Parenthood and Planned Parenthood provide care for about 1.4 million folks, meaning this is not just about the issues of abortion. It's across the spectrum. Thousands and thousands of people seeking care from outside the state, not just for abortion as well, that we're already providing. And so that's baked into who we are and what we do. And to the extent that that need will grow, as a dozen or 20 plus states restrict that access, California will do its best to provide for as many people as we can.
Governor, right now, living in California, can you feel pretty far away from what residents of those 26 states are impacted by this, what they're feeling? What is your message to them, and what can Californians do to help them?
Well, we have their back. Know that they matter, we care. I hope we're a little bit of a beacon of hope, a bright light, that they're not alone. They shouldn't be scared. They shouldn't feel isolated. I want folks to know in California they shouldn't feel alone. Access to reproductive health is legal in this state. I want to remind all Californians, regardless of what you're seeing up in the nightly news and the cross currents of that debate here in the state of California, we're doing more and providing much deeper and better service. And I want folks to know across this country that we're going to fight for them as well, not just here in the state of California. Success leaves clues. California, as I said, punches above its weight. California has a profound impact on policy across the nation on a spectrum of issues. And I also, may I say this, and perhaps I'm getting a little off, for all those businesses, the idea that you're moving your companies to states and then you have to pay for your employees to travel back to the states that you made them move, maybe they should start reconsidering some of those decisions as well. This is an economic issue across the spectrum. At the end of the day, for women and girls, this is an economic issue. Make no mistakes. That's why this is about equality. This is about women's rights. It's so foundational. Sorry, Tucker Carlson, it is. Deeply. And that's why the issue of economics also needs to be a big part of this conversation.
During the Trump era, sort of lead the progressive movement. Do you see this in a similar frame as we head into the midterms, that there is going to be a progressive movement about abortion and then a conservative?
Guys, has anyone been paying attention to what the hell's happened in this country in the last 6-9 months? Anyone pay attention to what that guy DeSantis or something, Santos, is doing in Florida? The attacks on the LGBTQ community? I mean, they're going after now social emotional learning. I mean, CRT, I mean, just completely made up out of whole cloth. I mean, if there was any state that has CRT, I guess they couldn't figure out wasn't happening in California. So now it's about social emotional learning. They're coming after that next. They're banning books. They're banning books. This is 2022. Anyone paying attention? What the hell's going on? It's not just about January 6th. Voter suppression, private police forces. Can you imagine I have a private police force to send down to LA to make sure we're monitoring local elections? This is extremism at a scale and level I never experienced in my lifetime. Wake up, America. That's all this is about. Wake up. And so I'm a future ex-governor, a guy with 4 kids. Wake up. And I say that as a father. I say that as a Californian, as an American. Wake up, America.
Governor, you put out a tweet that said that this issue is the defining issue of the 2022 race. Why is this issue more important than inflation and homelessness and everything else happening here?
Because rolling back your fundamental constitutional rights has a profound impact across the spectrum of issues. It's a foundational issue. Everything's built off that fundamental right, freedom. I mean, if guys like me were getting pregnant every day, does anyone think this? This is comical. This is about controlling women. We know that. Historically, it has been. Come on. I mean, you can't. That's not a society that can thrive. There's something more important than empowering women and girls. And it's guys that look like me that are disproportionately deciding these decisions. I don't know. I think folks should really be pissed off at this moment. And if this doesn't animate people to get involved, I sure as hell, I mean it. I don't know what the hell will. Inflation, those are tough issues. Those are international issues. I mean, let's start level setting with folks. Inflation is not unique to the United States. That's an issue that persists all across the globe. Supply chain issues all across the globe. Wake up to what's happening in the macroeconomic sense. And I appreciate the president's work on that and his words this morning on that. All those issues are foundational. They're important. We're working on those 24/7. Budget reflects it. The work we're doing in this state, record surpluses, record rebates. California is going to do more than probably any other state in that space as well. But this issue is a foundational issue, and I think it goes to the core of what it means to be an American and those fundamental protections of privacy that we thought, yes, were inherent in the Constitution, First, Fourth, and Ninth Amendment.
Governor, people in the state of California identify you as Catholic. How do you plan to deal with Catholics in the state of California and convince them to support this idea to have California as a sanctuary state for abortion?
Look, I respect the differences. I've had a difficult time on a number of issues in this space with my faith and our traditions. But we're not mandating anything. We're providing the ability. We're not dictating the terms. They're dictating the terms. It's state-sponsored birth. You have to come to terms with the birth. And then see you later. You're on your own. And again, that should be the most outrageous thing. None of them are promoting across the spectrum support for families. They oppose all the budgets every single year. We can afford $2 trillion tax cut, but we can't afford paid family leave. We can't afford prenatal care. We can't afford child care. So with respect to those that disagree, you have the right to disagree. That's the freedom that we're promoting versus the mandates that they're promoting. Perhaps you two can talk more about what you anticipate, and then I'll answer what we'll do to support.
Yeah, we anticipate substantially more people coming to California and to Los Angeles. We've been working with our hospital partners, with a variety of partners across Los Angeles, across the state, in addition to our legislative and gubernatorial leaders, and really are doing all that we can to anticipate this moment, to have the infrastructure in place, and at the same time, as the governor said over and over and over, this is unprecedented. So we don't know, but what we do know is that our doors will stay open. We will do our damnedest to take care of every woman who turns to Planned Parenthood and all the other incredible health care providers across this state, and we will lift up the values of liberty and freedom, knowing that we will not be defeated in this moment or in the long term, because freedom is the future and the foundation of our country.
Are you anticipating some of the criminalization of laws that are on state books, like in Missouri?
We are 100% anticipating that criminalization of women, of families, and of healthcare providers. And as the governor has said, California is preparing for that, but it's not enough. There are people who are in desperate situations all across this country who are about to be criminalized. There's no question about that. We're already seeing it.
Governor, regarding your budget, are you planning to include grants that would go to organizations in other states to help women who may be in need of abortions to get to California?
Yeah, not prepared at this moment. I know we've had a number of conversations. We have a task force with a series of recommendations of how to accommodate and support what's happening. But we'll have to work through with the legislature any determination around that direct support outside of the state of California. That may be more challenging for us, but providing support certainly within the state and supporting those supports for people coming in the states, that's a separate conversation, much easier for us to embrace.
Governor, hi, Francine from the Christian Science Monitor. There's 12 bills in Sacramento that are being worked through.
Yep.
You have your constitutional change you also want to do. Are you working with other states to help them with these things and sort of have California be a model for other states?
Absolutely. In fact, we were prior, in fact, that was the initiation of our original meeting going back 6-9 months ago, was creating a template for other states, supporting and coordinating our efforts with other governors. We just sent out a letter as an example, a specific example to your question yesterday, with other governors, supporting efforts, so we are aligned in terms of that advocacy. We will continue to do more of that, but California in particular is proud of its template and the model that we're providing, including the supports that we're proposing and those that go into effect in January of 2023. Look, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. And I think this requires a sense of coordination and collaboration like which we've never seen, bottom up, not just top down. We've seen this across the spectrum of issues, things getting stuck in Congress. I can't take any more Manchin and Senate. I can't take it. I can't take that. What can't be done? But I know what can be done when we come together, bottom up, and coordinate and collaborate, particularly at the state level. And I think the one thing, and forgive me for being long-winded, but I think this is important. It's an extended point, but an important point. One of the really remarkable things from my perspective that's come out of the COVID crisis is the renewed spirit of collaboration with governors and their chiefs of staff across the country. We have relationships that would never otherwise been formed, and those conversations are hand in glove now on this issue in ways that would not have occurred had we not had that 2-year experience.
You talked a lot about the state picture. You talked a lot about the big picture today. To talk about what they're coming for next.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to Democrats in Washington to make that work? Like to see that this is more than just one week's opinion, what this is going to be, what's happening.
I mean,
how can voters really understand?
Well, I think you've seen, you referenced a tweet we sent out. Maybe you've seen a few others I've been sending out the last 6 months. And I felt this enormous sense of frustration. Like, where the hell's my party? Where's the Democratic Party? You guys paying attention to what's going on. It's not just, I mean, you know, it wasn't just the initiation of so much of this as came out of the private right of action and the actions in Texas, but it was all of these other bills that are just cookie cutter bills that are being, you know, spun out in states all across the country, across a spectrum of issues. Where is the Democratic Party? Where's the party? Why aren't we standing up more firmly, more resolutely? Why aren't we calling this out? This is a concerted, coordinated effort. And yes, they're winning. They are. They have been. Let's acknowledge that. We need to stand up. Where's the counteroffensive? Now, forgive me, I know some of you disagree, and I respect that. But, you know, I think we initiated on gun safety a version of a counteroffensive, where I took that frame when the Supreme Court opened up the door as it relates to private right of action, as it relates to ghost guns and you know, weapons of war. That's our approach. We're taking that approach, this constitutional amendment. It's time to get on the offensive. We sit there 24/7 taking it from the surround sound of the misinformation and rage machine on the right. They're disciplined every single day. And as I said, they figured out CRT didn't really exist, and now it's social emotional learning. And they'll come up with something else after they realize that's all bunk. They'll come up with something. They always do. These cultural wars. Where is the counteroffensive in the Democratic Party? Why aren't we waking up to that? And and it's not an indictment. I love that. This is not about leader of the House of Representatives. She's across the spectrum delivering. It's just not getting through the door in the Senate. President is doing all he can to deal with 100 different crises, not least of which overseas. I applaud him for all of that work as well. It's about us as Democrats doing a better job to coordinate a more disciplined counteroffensive and message across the spectrum. And that's, I hope, if nothing else, what do you need in this decision to wake us up to that and start asserting ourselves a little more aggressively?
What's your message to the woman right now in California or in another state who is scared? What's your message to them about what California is doing?
You matter. We care. We have your back. We love you. We respect you. We know how hard these issues are. We know how hard life is. We know what you've been through the last 2 years, your fear, the anxiety you have, and now it's just been stacked even more. And we want you to know we're not walking away from you, our responsibility to support you and to help you. And those that are from outside the state know that they matter and we care about them as well. And we're going to do our best, try to lead by example, support efforts in their states to be there at their most vulnerable moments. And I'll never understand the work you all do. Talk about vulnerability. Talk about those moments that define a life and a direction. And what they do every single day to hold the hands of these remarkable people, have the courage to make these difficult choices, that should be honored and respected as well. And I just want to express not only to those women, but to those providers and caregivers, thank you for all you're doing every single day as well. So thank you, and thank you all very, very much. Sorry you have to go through all this.
Can we take a picture?
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Warriors at 5.
Yeah, be honored. Can we do a quick photo?
All right, can you guys all look at Monty here? Monty will be right center. She'll get the photos if you guys want to get in.
I'll bend down.
I don't know if we'll be able to.
If we can move it, Vanessa can help me move it.
I'll just hold it.
Cool. All right, everyone. Squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. Okay, look right here. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it. Have you back.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You had a great wine on this.
Wow.
It's not over. I'm not an overeater. It looked meticulous, man. It looked meticulous. I didn't want to.
Wow, your question yielded an interesting answer. get on the offensive.
Uh-huh. It came back out. Life's too short. Yeah, just tuck it back. You know. Sure? Yeah. What's up? Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, it's got to be sitting. You know, you buy one of these off-colored. Gray looks like. Yeah, I don't think I know.
Creating a lane for myself in the 2024 Democratic primary.
Agreed.
To freeze all new spending except for defense. And if you poll the members of the United States Congress, they'll say, it's a great idea, great idea. But then if you say, but you understand, that means you can't spend outside your budget. I mean, I'll give you an example. Do we need more money for COVID? The experts in the Biden administration say we do. But when you ask them, well, why don't you just repurpose some of the COVID money that we haven't spent? They say, no. We need new money. That adds to inflation. We have a crisis at the border. It's going to get worse, folks. You watch. Then the next 2 months, the Biden administration is going to say we need new spending for border security. And the cherry on the banana split is the big tech giveaway bill, the so-called China competitive bill that we're going to be asked to vote on. That's $250 to $400 billion, and it's a giveaway to big tech. Okay, if you believe in fiscal responsibility and restraint, you can't vote for that bill. Final point I make is look. Let me give you an example of the shortcomings and the reason I don't think this administration is taking all this seriously. Nobody in their right minds, if you're trying to get control of inflation and beat back stagflation and keep from having another GDP drop, would try to promulgate new NEPA rules unless you've parachuted in from another planet. We worked hard in the infrastructure bill. I didn't vote for it because it wasn't infrastructure. And I'm not going to buy a car to get the cup holders. But one of the good provisions in that bill was to reform NEPA. Now the Biden administration is turning that totally upside down. That's going to add extraordinary costs and burdens to business women and businessmen across America. I spoke too long. I'm sorry. I'm done.
That's right.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah. So. Joe Manchin agrees with you guys on a lot of these things. He's putting together a bipartisan group to try to do something to both increase domestic fossil fuel production as well as do something on the climate. Is there a chance for Congress to use that to legislate something that would actually have a real impact here this year? Or is there, you guys are just more focused on we got to change the Congress to do anything real?
Well, as for myself, I'm deeply skeptical that we're going to get to something that would make sense that I could support. I don't know if you wanted to say something.
I mean, we've talked about it, but I was in the meeting Monday, and it's a good faith effort to try to get to some kind of compromise. To me, the most constructive element of that discussion, which I think has some potential, is this issue of NEPA reform. In addition to what was done, as Senator Kennedy mentioned, in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the vast majority of Republicans and Democrats, you go ask a mayor or a governor, it doesn't matter what party they're in, they know that what's really holding us back, whether you want solar, wind, oil, gas, mining, roads, bridges, is a broken permitting system. It's killing us. And,
That was Senate Republicans talking about the state of the economy earlier. We're watching live now from Fox, everybody. We are monitoring breaking news out of Houston, where an officer was taken to the hospital after a shooting. This is in southeast Houston right now. You're watching live now from Fox, everyone. You're seeing the aftermath here. Police tape up at this gas station here. Large law enforcement response that continues right now. Investigation continues, and we'll get you updates as they come in right here on Live Now from Fox. But let's take a quick 2-minute break. Welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. We appreciate you joining us here. We're going to listen into a little bit of the Senate hearing talking about debit and really credit card fees that banks issue. Let's listen right here on Live Now from Fox.
Merchant on each swipe, but merchants and their customers take it on the chin, and we're going to hear that firsthand today. What can merchants do to try to keep the fee rates down? Not much. Visa and Mastercard are the negotiating agents for thousands of banks. If a merchant wants to be able to accept payment from those banks' customers, they have to agree to Visa and Mastercard's fees and terms. I remember at that hearing 16 years ago, at that table, one of the customers, or one of the retailers, had a stack about 3 inches tall. They had asked for a copy of the contractual agreement with Visa and Mastercard when it came to imposing fees. They quickly said, this isn't the complete contract. They would only give us part of it, 3 or 4 inches tall. And you expect a grocery store, a restaurant, to go through all this? Bottom line, when fees go up, it costs more to use money. And that cost gets billed into prices consumers pay. Visa and Mastercard raised their swipe fees 2 weeks ago, despite bipartisan opposition from Congress. It was obvious. We're suffering from inflation. Don't raise these hidden fees again. They did it anyway. Senator Marshall and I, Representatives Welch and Van Dyne, urged them not to do it. They didn't listen, and we'll talk about it today. The credit and debit card systems are not competitive marketplaces. When you don't have real competition, what happens? You get higher costs, less innovation, weaker security. And new potential competitors get stifled. It's a sweetheart deal for the dominant networks, for the biggest banks, and for certain cardholders who have ritzy rewards programs. But the average small business and the consumer, they pay the price. Other countries have figured this out, incidentally. You can't have a fair system when you let networks fix the swipe fees without competition or regulation. So the European Union, Australia, China, India, Israel, South Korea, and more have stepped up to create reasonable swipe fee limits. We have the Durbin Amendment that applies only to debit cards. In 2010, I wrote that law that placed reasonable limits on debit interchange fees that Visa and Mastercard fixed on behalf of big banks. It has generated a lot of talk over the last few years, and a lot of TV commercials. And boy, the big banks hate the Durbin Amendment like the devil hates holy water. In the absence of competitive marketplace, there needs to be some limit on Visa and Mastercard's fee fixing. Here's a few steps I'd like to suggest. Let's have transparency and make it clear to consumers in their monthly statements how much of their card purchases are being deducted as interchange fees. You know you have the information, and you know you can provide it. Maybe if consumers knew how much of their cards were costing their favorite restaurants and retailers, they'd use less costly cards. Second, let's stop the practice of charging swipe fees on the part of the transaction amount that is sales tax. That's a swipe tax on top of a sales tax. Give the consumers a break. Let's stop the exclusivity deals where Visa and Mastercard tell banks they can't use any other network on their cards. Let's give merchants a choice of card network options on each swipe and each online sale. Let's make sure that someone besides the dominant network plays a role in setting security standards for cards. Security innovators and startups are being shut out of the current system. And let's reduce inflationary pressure by preventing network fixed swipe fees from being jacked up to unreasonable levels. We got a lot to talk about today. We're joined by a distinguished panel. I thank them for joining this spirited discussion. And let me turn to Senator Grassley.
Yeah. First of all, Mr. Chairman, thank you for holding this hearing. Thank you for working with us on this side of the aisle to make sure that the interests of all stakeholders are taken into consideration. And I particularly want to thank you for including financial institutions in the panel. Interstate and swipe fees is the amount of money that merchants pay for accepting a debit or credit card. These fees vary depending on many factors, but in general end up being between 1% to 3% of purchases. And I just learned, including sales tax, A great focus has been paid to these fees as more and more consumers use credit and debit cards to make their purchases. As many of my colleagues know, this is an issue that has passionate voices on both sides. Many Iowa businesses have complained that it seems that these fees are high for accepting credit and debit cards for purchases. These businesses want to give their customers the option to pay using different methods, but that can be difficult if fees are eating into already tight margins, especially for small business owners. They may have to then pass along these costs to the consumer. On the other hand, there are a number of benefits to card usage for both consumers and businesses, including convenience, security, and increased purchasing power. Consumers may spend more money on cards than if they use cash. Consumers may also benefit through rewards or cash back on their cards. There's a balancing act here that we need to acknowledge, and that any future action should be carefully considered for possible impact. I look forward to hearing from all of you on this subject. As this is a Judiciary Committee hearing, we're looking at competition and whether interchange fees are set above rates that would be found in the competitive market. Two witnesses here today represent Visa, Mastercard, the two largest payment networks in the United States with over 80% share of credit card market. I look forward from hearing whether these rates reflect market forces. I think, though, that when a subject like this comes up, particularly at the time of high inflation, that's a factor that brings attention to a lot of expenditures that people might feel are unnecessary. It seems like every industry, including merchants and banks, have been blamed by the president for inflation. That blame game doesn't work, as President Biden spends trillions of dollars of money as fast as could be spent on a liberal wish list, even when economists were warning about inflation. Earlier this month, Bureau of Labor Statistics reported the 12-month increase of inflation for March was 8.5% year over year. This is the largest increase in over 40 years. All of this obscures the actual rising costs that Iowans have been hit with. In the Midwest, the price of ground beef, 24.5% up. Bacon, 26% up. Pork chops, 23%. Chicken, 31%. Eggs, 22%. These are not luxury items, but absolute necessities for families' dinner table. These staggering increases are negatively impacting all Americans and must get under control, and that's not by spending trillions more that are being proposed. I yield.
Thanks, Senator Grasso. We have six witnesses. Thank them for joining us. I'm going to give a short introduction to each before they're recognized. First witness is Laura Shapiro. She's chair and CEO of Giant Eagle, a supermarket chain headquartered in Pittsburgh, 470 locations throughout Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, and Indiana. She served as CEO of Giant Eagle since 2012, previously served as the Senior Executive Vice President, Chief Strategy Officer, and Senior Vice President of Marketing. She's worked for Giant Eagle since the year 2000, has a bachelor's degree from Amherst. Glad to have you here. Second witness, Bill Sheedy, Senior Advisor to Visa's Chair and CEO, a position he's held since 2020. He's responsible for strategic initiatives. Previously served as Visa's President of Europe, North America, and Latin America, and he helped lead the company's restructuring in 2007 and its IPO in 2008. Undergraduate degree from West Virginia University and an MBA from Notre Dame. Thank you for being here. Next witness is Linda Curprek, Kirkpatrick, President of North American for Mastercard. She's responsible for overseeing Mastercard's operations and customer-facing activities in the U.S. and Canada. She's been with Mastercard since 1997, and she previously served in a leadership role involving investor relations, U.S. strategy and communication, U.S. issuers, global rules and standards, compliance programs, and dispute resolution management. She has a degree from Manhattanville College. Thank you for joining us. Next witness is Ed Mierzwinski. Close, Ed? Did I get it right? That's because I represent Chicago. He's the Senior Director of the Federal Consumer Program at the U.S. Public Interest Research Group, known as PIRG. Mr. Mierzwinski has worked for U.S. PIRG since 1989, oversees the Federal Consumer Program, helps to lead national efforts to improve consumer credit reporting laws, identity theft protection, product safety regulation, and more. Co-founder of the Americans for Financial Reform, received his undergraduate degree and master's degrees from the University of Connecticut. Senator Blumenthal, take notice. Our next witness is Charles Kim, Executive Vice President, Chief Financial Officer of Commerce Bankshares, responsible for all financial functions of the company, as well as for the company's strategic planning, marketing, technology, enterprise operations, and consumer card business. He's been with Commerce Bank. He received his undergraduate and MBA degrees from Washington University in St. Louis, the Hilltop. Final witness is Doug Cantor. Since 2021, Mr. Cantor has served as General Counsel for the National Association of Convenience Stores. Previously practiced law at Steptoe & Johnson, where he was General Counsel to the Merchant Payments Coalition, among other organizations. In his career, he worked as Deputy Chief of Staff at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and as a public school teacher. Received his BA from the University of Virginia, his JD from Yale Law School. Again, thanks to all of the witnesses for being here. Now, it is customary in this committee for us to ask you to take an oath to tell the truth. So if you'd all please stand and raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give before the committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record reflect that all the witnesses answered in the affirmative, which now gives them permission to proceed. And we're going to start with Ms. Corrett.
Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, and members of the committee. I'm Laura Corrett, CEO, President, and Executive Chair of Giant Eagle, one of the nation's largest multi-format food, fuel, and convenience retailers, with approximately 34,000 team members, operating more than 470 corporate and independently owned and operated store locations throughout 5 Midwest states, including Pennsylvania and Ohio. On April 22nd of this year, with no negotiation or threat of competition constraining them, Visa and Mastercard imposed a fee increase that will cost Giant Eagle $1.3 million annually. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about the impact of swipe fees on our business. I'm also proud to serve as Vice Chair of FMI, the Food Industry Association. FMI works with and on behalf of the entire food industry to advance a safer, healthier, and more efficient consumer food supply chain. FMI's membership includes nearly 1,000 supermarket member companies that collectively operate almost 33,000 food retail outlets and employ approximately 6 million workers. Our industry historically operates on razor-thin margins of 1% to 2%. We operate in a highly competitive market, and as inflation has driven prices higher, our customers have become even more conscious of how they are spending their money, driving down profits. There are 3 points I'd like to make today. First, Giant Eagle's swipe fees have materially increased over time, and the April 22nd unilateral increase will only exacerbate this problem. Visa and Mastercard together control 85% of the market. On April 22nd of this year, both Visa and Mastercard increased the fees retailers pay, and they also created new categories of fees. Every bank that issues credit and debit cards adopted these fee increases without deviation or exception. In my estimation, this cannot possibly comply with either the letter or the spirit of our nation's antitrust laws. This latest price increase fits the pattern we've seen for years. Giant Eagle's been paying higher and higher payment fee costs. Electronic tender sales make up about 82% of our sales transactions for our company. Of the 82% that are electronic tender, about 37% of the total sales are Visa and Mastercard. But when you look at the total card processing fees, Visa and Mastercard make up over 62% of those fees. Over the past 4 years, our Visa and Mastercard fees have grown from 57% of our total fees to 62% of our total fees, while at the same time, Visa and Mastercard sales as a percentage of total sales have declined by almost 2%. In stark contrast, during the pandemic, my company and others like it were authorized by the USDA to accept online payments from our customers using the Supplemental Assistance SNAP EBT cards. It's interesting to note that those SNAP electronic transactions are completed securely, without Visa or MasterCard, and without incurring any swipe fees. It's hard for us to understand why.
You're watching live now from Fox, everybody. We are going to take another quick 2-minute break here, and when we come back, we will play out the very latest out of California with Governor Gavin Newsom talking about abortion rights.